Hello, Cosmic Fam, and welcome back to Moonlight News, where we pick up what the stars are putting down so you can navigate your life with clarity, confidence, and cosmic timing. I'm Laurel, and today we're deep diving into the fires of Aries. We've crossed the spring equinox where the light begins to return again, and this is where Aries takes its place. This is a season where what is set in motion will continue to unfold for years to come. It's a powerful new beginning, amplified by an Aries stellium and the generational transit of Neptune. This may feel new to us in our time, but it's not new to humanity. The symbolic influence of Aries has deep ancient roots in themes of initiation and identity, and these themes were carried through myth, legend, scripture, and the sky. And in this episode, we connect the pattern behind it all. And you may be surprised to know that you've seen this pattern before. You just didn't realize it. The ram, the sacrifice, the hero, and once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. The core frequency of Aries is action, courage, identity, momentum, and leadership. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really like just listing things off like that, which is why I post visuals instead. But I really sat with this, and they all matter because they all work together. For example, imagine lying in bed and having a sudden moment of clarity, an epiphany, so to speak. And the very next day you decide to start something new. Or go in a completely different direction than you were headed before. And then you act on it, even though it might be something you've never done before, and you probably have no idea how it's all going to come together. But what you do know is that you just need to do it. And it takes courage and conviction to step out like that. It's like waking up one day and deciding that this is what I'm doing now, or this is who I am now. And that decision becomes the domino effect that sets you on a path you choose for yourself. After the disillusion of Pisces, Aries brings clarity through movement. When this energy is embodied, it could look like a rebirth of some part of yourself, or taking decisive action on something, trusting your instincts over your logic. You're not becoming someone new. You're stepping more fully into who you already are. There is, of course, a shadow side of Aries. So some things to be mindful of would be impulsivity, or being overly reactive, and ego-driven decisions. But at its highest expression, Aries energy is intentional movement, grounded in self-awareness, rather than your ego. It's trusting the process without rushing it, and taking action that's driven by a purpose and a call towards something greater than yourself. When I think of a high vibe Aries poster child, I think of the main character from that movie Apocalypto. Y'all remember this guy? Jaguar Paw. He's not just reactive. He evolves. He moves fast, but not recklessly. It was really fascinating to watch how intentional all of his choices were. He was fighting to protect his family, and he endured to the end, without losing his focus or his direction. If you haven't seen the movie, this is a good one. It is fully subtitled though. But back to Aries. So if we're talking about the lower expression of Aries energy, I'm giving that award to Caligula. He was known for being maniacally driven by ego. Power for him wasn't rooted in a purpose. It was about control and a need to dominate with no real direction behind it. He was paranoid, volatile. He made erratic, extreme decisions that were destructive. And instead of leading with intention, he used his authority to satisfy his own impulses and desires. So now that we hopefully have a clearer sense of what Aries energy looks like, let's talk about where it came from. Where did the zodiac sign of Aries originate? To answer that, we have to go way back to the earliest civilizations. In ancient Mesopotamia, the earliest form of Aries is found, and he was not a warrior, but a shepherd, an agrarian figure that represented seasonal renewal and life returning after winter. This is significant because it begins a pattern that has interesting ties to Christianity. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. Then, in ancient Egypt, the ram evolved from a man into a figure of divine power through the Egyptian god Amun. In their mythology, the ram becomes creation, authority, and sacred divinity entering life through form, that form being the ram. Even the ram's horns themselves have meaning. Their outward spiral symbolized cycles of power and emergence. Originally, Amun was a local deity of Thebes. Eventually, he became known as the sun god Ra and was called Amun-Ra, the supreme creator god, who was believed to be the creator of the universe, the source of all life, and the king of the gods. In ancient Egyptian symbolism, the ram represents fertility, our creative life force, initiation, and masculine energy. These themes connect directly to Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. Amun was often depicted with the head of a ram. And here we begin to see that Aries energy didn't just appear in astrology, it was already alive in myth. And you can start to make the connection. The ram wasn't just symbolic in Egypt, it was showing up in other cultures too. In both Egypt and Mesopotamia, we see the same pattern of the ram emerging as a symbol of life force energy and the beginning of things. But then, something shifts again in ancient Greece, and the ram becomes the golden ram. Through the story of Phrixus, a mythological prince who was saved from being sacrificed by a divine golden ram that carried him across the sea to Colchis, also known as the Land of the Golden Fleece, located on the eastern coast of the Black Sea. And to honor that rescue, Phrixus sacrificed the ram in gratitude to Zeus. And from that sacrifice, its golden fleece became sacred and kept at Colchis. But the ram itself was placed in the sky as the constellation Aries. Later, that golden fleece becomes the center of a heroic quest sought by Jason and the Argonauts. And this is where the ram is no longer just a symbol of life force and initiation, but becomes the vehicle of salvation, a symbol of sacrifice and the hero's journey. But what I find fascinating is that the ram sent to save Phrixus is the one who ends up being sacrificed. Does that sound familiar? Because it should. This pattern, this archetype, appears again in the story of Jesus Christ, the one who saves and is also crucified. And it's important to note, Jesus is also referred to in the Bible as the Lamb of God. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? The same symbol, the same story, told in a different language. And this might be the most revealing connection of all. So from here, we move out of myth into biblical history to see how this connects to Aries even further. Astrologers recognize what are called ages, and these are long periods of time that run about 2,000 years each. This is determined by the position of the sun at the spring equinox, and astronomers also observe this cycle. It's known as the axial precession. It's a slow shift in the Earth's axis that changes where the sun appears at the spring equinox over time. And because of that shift, the equinox moves through the constellations about every 2,000 years. Astrology takes that same cycle and gives it meaning, dividing it into ages, each one carrying its own themes, its own archetype. Astrologers call this the zodiac, and the Age of Aries falls roughly between 2000 and 0 BCE. And here is where it gets really interesting, because it was during this age of Aries, astrologically and astronomically, this was the time when many of the stories that we now recognize from biblical history and across other traditions like Egypt and Greece were beginning to take shape. During the Age of Aries. This is the era of the Old Testament, of early covenant stories and warrior kings and sacrifice. And within these stories, the ram appears again. Around 2150 BCE, humanity transitions into the Age of Aries. And we see this shift directly in the Bible, in the story of Abraham. This is where a new covenant begins. God chooses Abraham to start it all. In the book of Genesis, chapter 12, God tells Abraham, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. and Abraham goes, which already mirrors something important, a calling, a departure, and a journey into the unknown. Then later, after some time, God tests Abraham, and this is found in Genesis chapter 22, where Abraham is asked to sacrifice his son Isaac. So he takes him up a mountain and they build an altar together. And just as Abraham was about to sacrifice Isaac, God intervenes and instead provides a ram caught in a thicket as a substitute sacrifice in place of Isaac. This story has long been considered among biblical scholars as a foreshadow to God sending his only son Jesus as a sacrifice for humanity. And this is where we begin to see a pattern that reflects the core archetype of Aries: initiation, sacrifice, and the beginning of something new. Then we see that same pattern again with another biblical figure, Moses, and the origins of the Jewish tradition of Passover. This is found in the book of Exodus, chapter 12. A lamb is sacrificed, and Moses instructs the Israelites to take the blood of the lamb and place it on the doorposts of their homes, so that when judgment passes through the land, it passes over them. Pass over. And that act marks both protection and the beginning of their deliverance from Egypt. And again, we see the same pattern of sacrifice leading to liberation. And then we can't forget the shofar, the ram's horn, which is also deeply symbolic. The shofar is still blown in Jewish ritual to this day, but in biblical times, it was also used in moments of war and divine intervention. In the book of Joshua, chapter 6, it was the sound of the shofar that accompanied the fall of the walls of Jericho. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. And the walls came tumbling down. Did you guys? No. I used to teach Sunday school. And now, the pattern evolves again, from sacrifice to action, from offering to movement. And all throughout the Old Testament of the Hebrew Bible, we see divinely guided battles, anointed kings, David, who began as a shepherd boy in his youth, resembling the same agrarian figure before becoming a warrior king. And this is where Aries energy becomes fully embodied, not just in sacrifice, but in leadership, in courage, and in purpose-driven action. These are not stories of chaos, but of action aligned with something higher. The symbolism is undeniable. From ancient fields to divine kings to sacred sacrifice and warfare guided by spirit, the symbol of Aries, the ram, evolves. But its meaning doesn't end there. In astrology, this energy is still alive and moving through us too. Today, Aries is ruled by the planet Mars, and Mars is known as the cosmic warrior. This energy represents our drive, our desires, and our primal instincts. Aries becomes our identity and self-led movement. This is the I am point in the zodiac, where you exist separate from the collective, and how you define yourself, not through thought, but through action. So what do we do with all of this fire and all of this movement and all this history? As it turns out, we have a pretty epic Aries stellium going on right now that gives us an opportunity to really work with this energy and develop it at a soul level. We have Saturn, Neptune, Mars, Mercury, and Chiron all in Aries right now. Mars entered Aries on April 9th and is at home here. That means that Mars can show up in its best light in the sign of Aries. Mars can be himself here. This is passionate, instinctual energy. This placement gives us the drive to take action. Then Mercury enters Aries on April 14th. And this is your thoughts in action. Words can be used as weapons under this influence. Communication becomes direct, fast, decisive. And with Mars and Mercury both in Aries, there is the potential for conflict. So be mindful of that. Saturn and Neptune have been in Aries, and I've talked about that a lot, so I won't get too into it, but I will include the link in the description to a previous video I made on this energy, so you can go ahead and take a look at that if you're interested. I do want to talk about Chiron though, because we've been in this energy since 2018. During Aries season, Chiron will be at 23 degrees of Aries, highlighting the deeper work around your identity, courage, and self-trust. This is where old wounds around being seen or fully expressing yourself may be surfacing, not to hurt you, but to heal you through action. The invitation here is to stop second-guessing your instincts and begin moving with intention, allowing your past experiences to shape you into a more authentic and self-led version of yourself. And we will continue to work with this energy until it leaves the sign of Aries for the final time on April 14th of 2027. And I wanted to bring this up because many of you are still in this healing phase of your identity and your sense of self, and you may begin to notice this undercurrent of energy. If you think back to 2018 and what has changed for you in terms of your identity since then, where you felt more vulnerable maybe or more exposed, Chiron's energy has been here working on that exact space in the area of your chart where Aries is, and will continue to support your healing into the year 2027. Across civilizations, Aries has carried the same core archetype: initiation, courage, and sacrifice. And today, you are the one empowered with that energy. You're the one sacrificing a part of yourself for something new to fully emerge. Somewhere in your life, you are being called to be the hero of your own story. And the question becomes, where are you being called into uncharted territory, ready or not? What is emerging within you? What would you do if you fully trusted your instincts? Where have you been holding back out of fear? And who are you becoming now that you've chosen a new path? The deeper wisdom of Aries is to move intentionally, not urgently. Aries is not just the warrior. It is also the sacred offering that signals a new beginning. You, in your most authentic, energetic expression, are that sacred offering. Because I don't believe this is all just a coincidence. The earth itself moves in cycles, a great cosmic rhythm unfolding over time. So maybe what you're feeling right now, the pull to begin, the tension to act, the sense that something is shifting within you, isn't just personal or all in your head. What if it's aligned with something larger, something ancient, something woven into time and space itself? And if you're feeling that, if you're standing at the edge of a new beginning and you want clarity on what this energy is asking of you, you can always book a reading with me where we look at your chart, your timing, and what's unfolding specifically for you. Because this energy may be collective, but how it moves through you is entirely your own. You can reach out to me on any of my social media platforms or email me directly at laureltreeastrology@gmail.com. I offer astrology chart readings as well as tarot readings and hybrid sessions. So I hope you learned a lot and enjoyed that episode into Aries season. I'll be back next week with the new moon in Aries and the sun moving into the sign of Taurus. So until next time, stay brave, stay in motion, stay heroic, and remember, the universe has your back. I hope you all enjoyed that deep dive into Aries season. I absolutely am fascinated by the connection and the links between the first sign of the zodiac being Aries and the Ram and the Age of Aries and the things that were happening in the world during the Age of Aries. We only know what's recorded in history, like the Greeks and the Egyptians and Mesopotamia. But I always wonder, just being of Hispanic heritage myself, like what was happening in South America during that time? Like what was going on during that time? I just always wonder about it. I've yet to travel to central Mexico. It is a bucket list of mine, and I wonder like what I would find in the stelas or in their history between 2000 and 0 BCE. Like what was going on in Central America, in South America, during the time that all that stuff was happening in Israel and Egypt and Greece. That's a piece of a puzzle that I need to kind of bring back together. I'm always bringing movies into my videos as references or analogies. I think it's so important. My goal is just to try and give a picture of what I'm talking about so that I can maybe help my audience understand what this energy looks like, how it's shown up. I assume that people aren't as conscientious of it as I am. I think for me, it's always been a very natural gift. I've always just very naturally been able to pick up on energy and different types of energies, patterns within energies. It did start a lot for me with movies and books. I was watching movies, I was reading books, and I would notice these same patterns. I think when I was in high school, I picked up this book in the library. I would skip classes and go read in the library, and there was this book called The Bible is History. I don't still have it to this day. Maybe I do. I don't think I do though. But I kept it for a really long time. I had it for years. They were talking about all the archaeological discoveries. It was a book basically about how the things in the Bible were real. And so I began to look into it more seriously. When you study astrology and you study the myth of things though, and if you have that background in the Bible, the more I read, the more I realized how how much it really runs together, how much the patterns, the themes, the concepts, the stories, how similar they are to stories all throughout ancient history. There is a history here that goes way, way back. I remember when I started going down this path, I was terrified because I'd been taught in my Catholic upbringing that it was a sin to talk about this stuff, or that astrology was evil. And so I was afraid of that calling. I was afraid of that interest. And I began to not be angry, but just feel a little ripped off. Like there is so much out there for us to know and to find out and to discover. And so much of it has to do with who we are and how we have evolved in our relationship with divinity, basically our relationship with gods, how that's evolved over time. All of it is just so fascinating to me. And I feel like there's been so much kept from us and robbed from us and lies told to us. And so we're not going in there. We're not learning about our history and where we came from and how we got here and where did it all start. And I feel like it's really important to kind of remember that, to remember where it all started and where it came from and how it connects and how it's been a thread throughout many, many cultures. I get some people get things wrong. I get some people do bad things with good information. One of the sayings that I love is in the Bible that always it would wake me up in the middle of the night thinking about what could it mean, was when Jesus said, "Greater things than this you shall do." He was talking about his miracles, raising the dead, curing people. He was telling his disciples that you will do greater things than what I've done. And I was like, what? What could be greater? What could be greater than what Jesus did? Oh, he went rolled up out of that grave. What could be great? I can barely get out of bed in the morning. What could be greater than that? And that has always stuck with me. And ever since then, I've just been after it. I'm like, okay, I want to figure out what that is. And I want other people to figure it out too. I don't just, who wants to be on this journey alone? I don't. Some people can do that. I'm not an island. I like people. The more the merrier. Let's have a little pilgrimage party as we all go and figure out what that means. What does it mean? Greater works than these you shall do. Because I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I hope you're here for it. I hope we're all here for it. But it was super exciting to kind of start this at this time, in this season, the spring equinox, how it all comes together. And I'm super excited about the content that I have coming up and the different, I've kind of mapped it out with the astrology. So there are a lot of things beginning right now and we don't all see, we can't see what it's going to look like. We don't know what the finishing project's going to be, but I would bet money that whatever your finishing project is going to be, it's going to be something that you didn't even imagine. It's going to be better than you imagined it. Better, greater than you imagined it. And that's a super exciting thought. And I hold on to that. I'm like, okay, I'd like to surprise myself on the other side, but it's more of a process of revelation. There are things being revealed to me in this process about myself, about my world, and about how I relate and interpret that world. The more I'm on this path, the more rich it becomes. A lot of my content will be cross-referencing biblical stories because there is so much astrology in the Bible. There is so much of what I do and what I'm called to in the Bible. it started there. It became a thing there. And so that's what I've told some of my friends that are Christians that are like kind of, a little concerned about what I'm doing. I've told them that all of my research, study, following my passion down this road has only strengthened my faith. And that meant something to me. I feel like I understand not only God better, but myself better in this world. More of what He created me for, more of what is available to me in this life, more of how I can live this life. And that excites me every day. I get up every day so excited to discover something outside the box, something bigger than myself every single day. Some days are better than others, but to live a meaningful life in pursuit of my purpose, in pursuit of creativity, connection, and everybody's greatest and highest good has been a huge honor for me. I do take very seriously the work that I do, and so I'm not as funny as some people would like me to be, but I think I'll get there. I'm pretty excited about this Aries new moon and us going into Taurus season. This is going to be a pretty intense time, I think, because of everything going on in the Aries stellium, all the things that are starting and beginning and all the momentum that's going and the push that's going. But one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, we're going to get there. Like things are already in motion. I try and tell people that what astrology really helped me do was learn how to ride the current of energetic wave. Okay, we're in Aries. This is the Aries current. I'm going to get on the Aries current, the Aries transcontinental current. Once you let it take you, things just happen organically. Really just resting into who you are and resting in your own presence and vibration and trusting your own energy to just be is one of the most beautiful things you can do for yourself. I feel like with Aries energy, there's a little bit of there's anxiety associated with it. Every single Aries that I know, or someone that has an Aries placement, is very anxious. There tends to be like anxiety associated with Aries. Just remember that. Just be calm. Just calm down. Simmer down now. Aries energy is not calm, but we can be calm still. We can find our zen. And we can be calm. I don't have any like funny Aries stories to share. I wish that I did. I was absolutely fascinated when I found out the links between Aries season or the Aries symbol and Christianity and how basically it is the start of it. Like the origins of the Hebrew faith originated, and Aries is significant to that beginning. It wasn't only the beginning of the Hebrew culture and faith, and it was also the beginning of the zodiac. And then it ends with Pisces season. Pisces is the last sign of zodiac. We just went through Pisces season, and that's when Jesus came and said it was finished, and Jesus ended it. What was started in the Age of Aries, Jesus ended at the beginning of the Age of Pisces. And now we're at the end of the Age of Pisces, about to go into the Age of Aquarius in about 150 years. And I'm not going to be alive for that, but I sure as heck hope that I get to see what is going to happen on the other side of this cosmic story, because I'm hooked.